Let's do this.
Leroy
Jenkins! Welcome to A Bit of Board Games, a casual podcast documenting the many failures and hopefully successes of Waffle Games, as we learn the ins and outs of board game design and self-publishing. Join us on this journey as we talk about a bit of life, a bit of design, and a bit of board games. Hey guys, thanks again for tuning in to another episode of Waffle Games' podcast, A Bit of Board Games. That's the name of this thing here. I am Stephen, the artist and game designer.
And I'm Trevor. I am the operations manager and game designer.
And we do the things. So that's it. See you guys. Bye.
Have a great week, everybody.
Yeah, thanks for tuning in. Anyway, we are here again doing the recording of the episode about our lives and our games and designing things.
What was the story you were telling me you wanted to share? I'm interested about this.
Okay, so we're just throw me on the spot. Just going right into it.
Everyone that's listening to this podcast is getting to know us pretty well at this point. So as long as you keep it, PG-13, I think everyone would be excited to hear this.
Yeah. No. Well, there's no proof that swear words were uttered anywhere.
Okay.
And no animals were harmed in the making of this story.
Making of this podcast. Okay.
Or this podcast. All right. So let me cast this story onto the pod here. So my home office is in a small bedroom in the basement of our house. So we live in a ranch house with a finished basement under it.
Are you a hobbit?
Ooh. I did have that nickname in middle school.
The Hobbit?
There were several of us on the playing basketball, and we were the Hobbits. That's a story for a different time. Anyway.
That's so good.
Partly because I've worn like size 12 shoes since like 7th grade. Sorry. Anyway, the story. Home office. I'm here. I have a desktop computer. I have internet to my computer run through an Ethernet cable that is routed all the way down the hallway of my basement, up the stairs to the main floor, through the kitchen, around the cabinets, into the living room, around the wall to the router.
To grandmother's house we go.
So we've been in this house over 3 years now, and this cable has been run like that for 3 years now. And my wife loves it. She's like, really adds to the aesthetic of our home.
I'm sure.
So there's been so many times where so here's the other thing. For like 5 years, I worked as like an audiovisual technician and like did AV installs for routing cables and, internet cables, like doing all the termination on that stuff, connecting servers, mounting TVs, mounting speakers, all that kind of stuff. A lot of cabling, a lot of stuff like that. You would think that I would have just done that. You might be able to fix
this problem.
Yeah. You would think. Apparently I'm not, but I just recently decided because there's not enough going on in my life right now.
Right.
I've started like 3 projects recently. I think when I get stressed, I'm like, I'm gonna start projects around my house because they're things that I can control and get done and see a tangible result. Anyway, so I finally took the plunge to start doing this. So I went in my office, kind of measured from the exterior wall into where the wall is that I want the cable to go down behind my desk here in the basement, and then went like into the upstairs bedroom and kind of measured up there again. I'm like, okay. So I measured like all the walls to find the center point of my house and like on the top floor and the bottom floor. So I'm like, okay, if I drill through the floor here on the top floor,
oh no,
this is roughly where it should come out on the bottom floor.
Oh no.
So here's the general plan. Like, I don't want to go outside of my house with it, which some people do, but I don't want to do that. So the main like coax cable from like our internet provider, like for the cable, the connection thing, is coming from the outside of our house, like in our garage, It goes across the ceiling and then into our living room. So in there is where we have the modem. So that's where my internet, the Ethernet cable is plugged into the router modem. Which one?
The modem?
I think I'm plugged into the router. The modem just connects to the like router with the Wi-Fi, and then that also does the hardwired connections there.
I guess I know some people have modem router like dual setup, whatever. But
mine are
anyway.
separate. Yeah. So anyway, I was like, okay, from the router, I can just route a cable just up the wall from my living room into the attic, go across the attic to my bedroom, punch down through the ceiling, like run it along like the corner, or even just like through the wall, I guess, and then like pop out in my closet of my bedroom, and then punch down into the basement, and then just go into the wall that I needed to go into. And that's what I'm doing to get there. It's not as bad as you may. I feel like you're expecting way worse than it's actually going to be.
Okay.
So anyway, I do all my measurements. I'm like, cool. All right, come from the outside of the house. I'm like, all right, I'm like 6 inches from the exterior of the wall of the house. I'm at like pretty much center point. It's right along kind of the interior wall of my closet. So like the cable wouldn't be visible when I put like a, cover, cable track, whatever on it. So I'm like, this looks good. So, okay. So first of all, my wife was with Henry. Cece was with me. I'm like, my daughter. I'm like, Cece, do you want to help me like do this project? She's like, yeah. So she comes over and like doesn't really know what's happening. I have a drill with a 1/2-inch drill bit on it, and this drill bit is 1 foot long.
Oh no!
Because that helps you punch through walls in a straight line. So I'm like, okay, this is where it's gonna go. So first of all, I line it up. I like get where I'm gonna go. Start drilling. As soon as I start drilling, my daughter starts screaming, and she is terrified because like all of this, I didn't like warn her like there's gonna be a noise.
It's gonna get loud, yeah.
And so it's just like ran like ripping through the wood floor there as I start drilling. So she starts screaming, crying, runs out of the room, and like over to my wife, and like it's just freaking out. And so I'm just like, I feel terrible. I'm like, oh gosh, like I just started drilling this hole, and now she's freaking out, and like I need to like stop, and then the drill's like partially stuck in the wood floor right now, and like run over there, console her, and then I'm like, let's do this later. Anyway, come back later, close the door. She's busy with something else, and I drill down. So I drill in, hit like a cavity, like an open area, like you'd think would be between floors.
Okay.
And then I go and like hit the next, where I think would be the ceiling of like the basement. But yeah. I'm like, because like I have resistance, but like literally nothing is catching. It's not moving.
Oh my gosh, this story is stressing me out.
And so I, come back out. I'm like, okay, like what the heck? Like why can't I get anything through here? So like I go down to the basement, into that room, and I'm looking around. I'm like, I don't see anything on like coming through the ceiling. Like nothing broke, which I knew I didn't break through, but I'm like, I don't know. I was hoping I'd see something. I'm like, okay, maybe like, I know like the basement walls are a little bit more inset from the upstairs walls because like the concrete foundation.
Yeah.
I'm like, maybe I'll just come like 6 inches out to as far as I can while still like staying against the wall in the closet.
Okay.
So I do that. So so first of all, the first hole I drilled, I got caught on like the edge of the wall because I went too close to the wall. So I'm like, dang it. Okay, let's try it again. I went in an angle, still the same issue, didn't really get anywhere. So then I could do the come over, 6 inches, drill down, and it's just like it keeps drilling through wood. So like I hit a floor joist. So I'm like, great. I'm just drilling, and like I'm not gonna drill through an entire freaking floor joist to try to get to where I'm going here.
Right.
So I move like 2 inches back, like between the split the difference there, and then I drill down through and hit an open pocket again. And I'm like. And like it's still the same thing. I couldn't drill through. I'm like, what is happening here? And so I took like a flashlight and turned it on and just put it over top of one of the holes, and then got my phone camera and like turn the camera on my phone and like put it against the hole so I could kind of see what's going on. And apparently I'm just hitting the main metal support beam in the middle of my house. That is just like, because I went to the center point of my house. And so I'm just hitting this big like metal like I-beam that is like there for structural support of everything.
No way.
I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. And like I can see around in this cavity. And I'm like, oh, well, there's the concrete where the edge of the house is. Here's the opening. Like I know it's here. So that's now 4 holes, 4 half-inch holes that I've drilled in my wood floors.
You can find a rug for that.
Yeah, I'm just gonna like plug them with something. Anyway, so that was like 2 days ago. Today I'm like, all right, I'm figuring this out. I'm over this. I go to the back of the closet now. So these holes were drilled at like the front kind of little like wing of the closet, whatever. So I go to the back of the closet, and I'm like, okay, I know for sure this is far enough over that I'm not gonna hit that middle beam. I know it's far enough over that I'm not gonna hit like the foundation and like be like not in the wall where I want to go. So move all this stuff. It's not in the most convenient location because it's like now 1.5 feet from the exterior wall. And to clarify too, I shut the main power off to my house when I did this. So I wasn't like gonna electrocute myself.
Good idea.
I have them sometimes. Anyway, we'll get on. So anyway, I drilled through. Cool. Hit like the drywall. Drill through. I'm like, oh, it punched through. This is awesome. So I go down and check, and I'm like, I now just drilled a hole through the ceiling of this basement bedroom that's like 1.5 feet from any wall. And so I just have this random hole in the middle of the ceiling, and I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, I could have been way closer to the wall. I just thought for some reason that like it had to be inset that far. Yeah. So I then went back like 8 inches closer to the wall, and then drilled through again, punched through, and it was great, and it worked out. It was exactly where I wanted it to be, close enough to the wall where I can easily route it and hide it. And there we are.
This is a perfect example of why we are building a board game and not a house.
Yeah, I'll update next time. I'm planning on finishing this weekend, and I still have to like get the cable in the attic and over there and through. So, hopefully there won't be any other major events. But
that's madness, man.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
I got it done. Those holes. At least now I'm like, I know where it's going. I now have access. I know how to get there.
Yeah. So you at least you have context of where you're at now, and you can kind of build from that. That's
six
sense.
Six holes later. 6 holes in my floor later.
That's crazy, man. Well, so in other news, happy Easter, by the way, everybody.
Happy Easter.
This is right after Easter weekend, and we're excited to be here with you. I actually went up to the mountains to go skiing this past weekend, and I mentioned previously that I'm a summer guy. I'm so excited for summer, and winters here in Colorado just last so long. And so I was not excited to necessarily go up and go skiing when it's supposed to be spring and flowers and everything outside. But I will tell you that when I got home, I'm very similar. When I get stressed or there's a lot going on, I like to get my hands on something, work something around the house, in the house, outside the house. Yeah. We did just turn our sprinklers on this week, and that was fun to see those, start working and start doing some things around the yard, pulling some weeds and moving mulch around and all that. I know this sounds stupid and mundane, but man, I'll tell you what, to be able to go outside and feel good with a t-shirt and shorts on, there's something about it, man. I'll tell you.
I think it's funny that in case people don't know, in Colorado, if you want grass, you have to have sprinklers to water
absolutely
them.
It's so dry here.
Oh my gosh. Everywhere I grew up, I grew up on the East Coast, and like no one has sprinklers. I mean, maybe a few people, but like, just everything is green. Stuff just grows everywhere. Like you're fighting it back. Here we're like fighting to get it to take root at all.
Exactly. Even weeds and bushes out here, you have to water to keep them alive.
Yeah. Oh my.
Anyway, you think we should get into some board game stuff?
Well, yeah. I wanted to also just real quickly update on Henry.
Tell us.
He's still good and still not sleeping on his own. So
man, you seem to have more energy tonight though. So.
I think it's just because we've gotten used to it.
Okay.
No, literally,
I was gonna ask.
Earlier today, I was at work. So we have a coffee shop like at where I work, and there's like couches around in a certain like part of the room, And so I was just there like doing some video editing for my job, and I just kind of like nestled into the corner of the couch, and then like all of a sudden I just like my eyes just jerk open, and I'm like, oh gosh, I was just asleep. And like
Hopefully no one from your work is listening to the podcast.
Yeah. we'll see. It was very brief, but like I was just fighting, like keeping my eyes open while I was just like editing stuff, and I'm like I was like actively doing things, like paying attention, like clicking on stuff, dragging stuff, and my eye, I'm just like all of a sudden I'm just not. I'm like like what just happened?
Well, at least you have your priorities straight. You know, you're taking a nap before our podcast today, so
yeah,
you know, keeping energy for what matters.
Yeah, and the 3 cups of coffee leading up to that. So
exactly.
And that was so that was on like I think I already had at least 2 cups of coffee, and then this I guess this was like 1 in the afternoon, 2 in the afternoon though. So
it takes you're at the point in your life that it takes triple caffeinated drinks to keep you at normal levels.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right, on to the board game.
Yeah. Hey, do you want to plug our socials and stuff again? Because I think we actually got a question from somebody that utilized one of those, and maybe we can get into that too.
We did. That was super creepy. I'm so sorry. We got our first external member on the Discord channel, Bandersnatch. Everyone give a round of applause to Bandersnatch. Woo! Yeah! Clapping sound effect inserted here.
Where can people go to join that Discord?
So that link you can find on our website, bitwafflegames.com, and the social media accounts are all at bitwafflegames or /bitwafflegames, whatever format they use. No spaces, just bit waffle games. Anyway, so Bandersnatch asked a question today. This is actually today, so like what a time to be alive.
Yeah, we are very prompt in replying, so just know that you'll get the same treatment if you reach out too.
Yeah.
No promises, actually.
Yeah, the same treatment, but maybe different. So he says, firstly, congrats on the new arrival and impending one too. It's mightily impressive to juggle those commitments and make a board game and make a podcast about it. So thank you for those kind words, Bandersnatch. Yeah, I mean it's been an interesting start to this journey, and it's been a lot of fun. And these are, some of this is kind of what has been keeping me sane during this time.
I think some people might think we're crazy for trying to create a board game in the midst of everything that's happening in our lives, but I think people would probably not understand that that's what's actually keeping us sane and through the day-to-day. So.
Need that creative outlet.
Exactly.
Anyway, so his question, he says, it's great hearing about the progress you're making on the design, but it'd also be good to hear what your thoughts are. Can't read. Tiredness. It'd also be good to hear what are your thoughts about taking it through production. I think you mentioned in an early episode that you'll use Kickstarter, but have you any thoughts on how you'll take it forward on the self-publishing route? Will you find a manufacturer yourselves? How about distribution? Obviously, it's a long way off. I'd love to hear about your how you approach these issues through the podcast. Keep up the good work, and I can't wait to see some of the prototypes. So I have thought about some of the production stuff. So I've actually been I've worked on different board games, as early as like 6 years ago.
Yeah.
Like just dabbling and stuff. My initial thought was like wanting to get into video games, and so I learned like pixel art, started doing some programming, but then I'm like, I don't want to program, and still had ideas for games, and I'm like, what if I made like board games of these? So I designed like some really crappy games and some other things, and like did a lot of research at the time, and so I have a lot of resources that I can access. So I was going to say like at my disposal, but they're accessible from whoever. Anyway, so a couple of those, Stonemeyer Games, which is Jamie Stegmeier's game company. He's grown a lot. He's kind of like the what's the word? I'm just going to say godfather of board game Kickstarters. He has so many blog posts and videos and things about like his whole process of like funding games on Kickstarter and like from like marketing to I think all the aspects of like distribution, manufacturing, what makes a good video, how to like lay out your campaign, so many things. He's got a book too. I don't know what the book is called, but he's got a book about that. It's something like I don't know. It's like Kickstart, or that's probably not it at all. Anyway, he's a good resource. And then another one is the Board Game Design Lab, which they have a podcast where they interview game designers. Well, it's the one guy. What's his name? Seth. No, it's not it. Seth
Meyer.
Yeah. Sid Meier's Civilizations. That's really bothering me that I can't remember his name. I literally just listened to an episode today. Anyway, awesome resource. They interview tons of people about all kinds of topics, so you get really good like insights on all the different aspects of, designing solo games, how to market your game, how to go through distribution, like from people that do this stuff. So like he's interviewed like someone who like runs like a manufacturing distribution company, and then on his website boardgamedesignlab.com, there's like a resource page. I think it's just /resources, and on there you've got categories of like how to get started designing a game, how to playtest a game, how to make a prototype, Kickstarter theme, mechanisms, everything. And there's like multiple links or articles or videos to other people that have talked about this or things that he's talked about with that. All that being said, yes, probably Kickstarter self-publishing route. We will find a manufacturer to do it. Could be one of the bigger names is like Panda Game Manufacturing. They have like a much higher minimum quantity of games that you have to order, like at least like 2,500 or something.
Which we plan on printing, by the way.
Like probably at least 1 million actually, but
yep. 1,000,000.
1,000,050s.
100. Yeah.
So like that's an example of like, we'd probably do manufacturing through a company like Panda GM or Longpack Games or multiple other things too. Also on the self-publishing route, there's another site that's like a Kickstarter one specifically for board games. That it's not like brand new, but it's recently had a lot more games on it, called GameFound. And that has, it's had like a Skyrim board game, reprint of like Robinson Crusoe, which is like a huge game that's been around for a long time, and others. So there's a lot of big ones that have been on there. So that's definitely something I want to look into when we get to that point. As far as distribution, I would probably want to use like a third-party thing. Like, there's a company called like Quartermaster Logistics, which manages like fulfillment and like distribution, shipping like containers from overseas where it's actually manufactured and all that. Since like we haven't done this before and we haven't worked in like international shipping things, I don't really want to learn how to do that. I'd rather focus my time on making games and building our brand in whatever areas we're doing, and not so much on like making sure they're on the crate, the shipping container to get on the boat to ship over here to then get to the different distribution centers and send out. So like I would rather use a portion of whatever money we can fund with to pay another company to manage that, because it's not absurd how much it costs relative to like the campaign. So yeah, and that just ensures that like fulfillment will be handled right, and so it's not like us printing out labels at home, packing up boxes and sending them out to people, and there's a lot of room for error with that, so we don't really want to do that. So like as we get into those areas, we'll definitely talk about them in the future as we get there. In regards to like earlier print runs for prototyping, I think the gamecrafter.com is awesome for stuff like that, because they have a lot of components that you can just like upload your files, print one copy of your game. Like it's like a print on demand service. You can't technically sell your game on there like print on demand, so other people could go and like order your game and then the game crafter just prints it and sends it out. But it's a lot more expensive, like per game. It's a lot more expensive there, just because it is on demand and you're not like getting a bunch of die cast like stuff that's printing multiple copies of the same thing. So anyway, I think that's great for like earlier prototypes or to get playtesting out, like sending games out to other people, stuff like that. So that was a long answer. Let's move on. Bandersnatch,
good.
thanks for the question. You're awesome.
Yeah, we appreciate you reaching out, and if anybody else has questions or thoughts, we'd love to touch on those too as we continue on. So
yeah, and that's on the podcast question tab channel, whatever, on our Discord, which is also a chat channel, which which Bandersnatch started. So if you want to talk with him or talk with us about stuff, we'll be checking on that and responding to things. Or send questions through the email form on our website. Anyway, Trevor, we are working on some stuff on the game before this. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, we'll jump right into some of the things we're talking about and working on. I did spend this past week kind of trying to hone in on some of these blueprints. And so for those of you that are maybe just now joining us, again, Stephen and I are working on as simple of a card game as we can get while still keeping it interesting. And one of these core elements of this card game is these blueprints that each player will get to craft. And within these blueprints, you're going to have different styles or types of blueprints. And those types are defense, combat, or utility. And all of these different types are going to have different ways that they engage with the players. And so we want this to be, we were talking about this today, we want this to really feel like a competitive type game where people are able to engage with each other and play a style that feels right. And, the way that they want to go about trying to get to this point threshold that in turn will complete the game and promote you as the winner. We can go back into the narrative here in just a minute, but so again, we got these 3 different types, and within these types, you're going to also have different qualities. And so we decided a while back that we wanted to have different abilities based on the types of quality that you're building. And originally we had thought maybe there's multiple levels per blueprint, but I think we've strayed away from that, and we really focused in on the type of quality is going to directly correlate with what type of ability you have, how good it is, how strong it is, how much it impacts another player or gives you a leg up. And so I've spent this past week kind of working through some ideas for how we want to kind of manipulate that from the different types of blueprints. Again, defense, combat, and utility. One of the issues, and we can maybe start the conversation here, one of the issues that I was trying to tackle is balance. I think you probably hear that with anything that regarding games, whether it's video games or board games or card games. Balance is a huge part of that. And as I'm working through defense, I'm thinking, okay, I want players to be able to craft a defensive card that actually defends you against something. Now, what is that something, and does it feel good to protect from that something, or does it not even matter if you protect yourself from that something? So within that, we're trying to think about, okay, forge points are the way to win the game. You get to a certain amount of forge points, and that closes the game out and grants you the victory. So I'm thinking that the majority of these cards are going to be based around gaining more forge points, slowing other players down by reducing their forge points earned, or maybe even subtracting forge points that they already have. And then also throwing in some other creative ideas as well. But what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, at the core of it, we want it to be a lot of player interaction. So some of that we talked about with like the black market, like we want people to interact with each other, like purchasing blueprints from each other, trading, stuff like that. So like we thought it makes sense to just have the abilities that you're doing, like the combat and stuff, to be more interactive, like in the same vein. So you don't want to just be like, hey, I'm just gonna craft my things over here and hope you don't take what I want. I'm just gonna craft my stuff and hope I get there first. We want it to be more like intense. We want that intensity level to be like, oh shoot, like he's so close, like I don't want to, I can't dilly dally anymore. I need to take a risk and try to craft this thing or try to get the the cores that I need, or like whatever it is. You know, we want that to have like a sense of tension,
right,
and competitiveness, like back and forth
right.
stuff. So like it's not just like someone just gets 15 points and they win. It's like, hey, you're at 13, but like this just negated that, but you combo that with something else, and like, you know, I think it'll be interesting to see like what kind of things we can include that'll like work off each other.
Right. It's not just a race to the first 15 forge points. There's going to be things that play off each other. And one of the things we talked about previously is we really want people to feel a sense of, you know, personal accomplishment with the type of build that they're going for. And so whether that's, you know, focusing on high quality, you know, legendary type defense cards or blueprints, you go, man, that's really what I want to focus on. But then maybe halfway through the game, you're going, man, you know, Steven's getting, you know, he already has 12 forge points. I might need to quickly build a combat blueprint instead of another defensive one, so that I can try to slow him down a little bit before he finishes the game. And so even though you're going to have that ability to focus on certain types, that, you know, the competitiveness of the game, I think, will be sort of another fun element to get people to really, you know, not have a one-track mind as they're going from point A to point B, but they're really having to take into consideration what other players are doing around them as well.
Yeah. So that's kind of some stuff we've been working on. You know, we can definitely dive into more stuff in the future. I think we're over our 30-minute kind of self-appointed cap, which is fine. I just don't want us to go on too much longer.
No, it's all good. And I think it's totally fine too, because we're going to get back into more of a consistent routine like we did before King Henry arrived. And so we'll have more consistent updates and whatnot as weeks go on. So
yeah, we might run out of stuff to talk about, so we got to save some of this.
Yeah, exactly.
So tune in next.
Go for it.
Well, I was just gonna say, like, leave us the cliffhanger there. Like, if you really want to know how the gameplay's gonna turn out next time on A Bit of Board Games. Yeah.
No, it's true. We are there are a lot of things in the works, quite honestly. Even though we seem to be maybe moving slowly with the card game, we are honestly working on quite a bit. But there's other things that we're working on too, kind of behind the scenes, that we're excited to share at some point. So definitely stay tuned.
Yeah, got some cool ideas on how to, you know, not just make games, but how to build out a brand, like, of our games and of podcast and other potential things that would benefit both us and others in our game development journey.
Absolutely. It's exciting.
Anyway, yeah, thanks again, guys, for joining us on A Bit of Board Games. Feel free to check out our socials at Waffle Games, and go to our website, bitwafflegames.com, to find a link to our Discord and go chat with Bandersnatch, so he's not just left alone with us. So thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you guys next time.
Yep. See you guys.
Bye.